you can't draw up returning the opening kickoff for a touchdown, but that certainly makes you feel really, really good to open the season that way. And what a game Deebo Samuel had, and what a talent he is. Jake Bentley with 3 touchdown passes. Look, the Gamecocks were outgained 2-1. It was a game where statistically, if you looked at it, you would say, my goodness, how did NC State not win that game with twice as much offense and 30 first downs? But they, it became a game where South Carolina got the early lead because of the kickoff return, and NC State scored to match them, but USC answered, and the Gamecocks never gave up the lead. They were tied a couple of times, but they never gave it up. And then whatever Will Muschamp and the defensive staff did at halftime, third quarter, they were really good on defense, and that's all that mattered because it gave them a chance to build a 2-touchdown lead, and they needed that 2-touchdown lead because then the offense just sort of it went away. 5 straight possessions. They got nothing to close out the game offensively. State, of course, crawled its way back into the ball game, but the USC defense on that last drive that NC State had the football and they moved it down the field, they came up with some plays. They came up with some good defensive plays. They almost created a turnover, which was overruled, and State was given second life there. But still, the Gamecock defense, maybe last year, similar situation against that kind of a team. They don't come away with the big play. This time, DJ Smith got the tip ball at the end of the ball game to secure the victory. And even though the statistics say South Carolina was dominated, that was truly not the case. In fact, even though they gave up 500 yards, I thought defensively they looked better because they got some pressure on the quarterback. They got some pressure on the quarterback with the 4-man rush. They got pressure on the quarterback when they did some blitzing. They ended up with 11 tackles for loss. They only had 70 tackles for loss the entire season last year. Had 11 tackles for loss in the ball game. I think they had 4 sacks. I think there was despite the yardage, and it was a game where NC State was dinking and dunking. Finley was hitting a lot of the short passes, and they were getting some yardage off of that. He threw the ball 60 some odd times. It's hard to defend a guy that's going to throw it that many times to the kind of receivers they have.
The word that Will Muschamp used after the game was efficient, and he was efficient. I mean, when you complete 45 passes and you throw 64, that's an efficient run. And I think initially, from my watching of the game, and then I watched through it about 2 different times, once yesterday and once this morning, I probably, in my initial analysis, probably didn't give the secondary as much credit. The one person who I will recognize positively is the guy you recognize with the big play at the end, DJ Smith. He is just a man around that football, and he basically is everywhere. When the ball went down the field, he was usually around it. Well, the one guy I will single out who probably had a game that he wanted to forget was Jamarcus King. It seemed like every time they showed him on the screen, he was either getting beat or turned around or getting called for pass interference. I think that, unfortunately for South Carolina, North Carolina State exposed the weak link of that South Carolina secondary. We also saw Jamias Williams have some growth moments, but he also had some other good moments in the game to at least contribute positively to the South Carolina defense. But the one good thing that you did see, like you mentioned, out of South Carolina's defense is that front 7 is about as lock solid, or played about as lock solid as you could expect for them to be. They got pressure with 4. They got pressure when they brought the linebackers. We saw how Bryce Nell Williams can fit in that kind of hybrid outside linebacker defensive end look they've been playing him in. We saw DJ Wanham, who Will Muschamp recognized in yesterday's teleconference as one of the defensive players of the game. We saw some of the reserve defensive linemen, too, play very well. Javon Kinlaw was in there, as well as Keir Thomas. In my mind, South Carolina played about as good a game against that offense as you could have expected. But as we recognize, the competition steps up going up into this week against an offense that put up 72 last week, albeit against an FCS team, but still a lot of power.
Yeah, and a quarterback who was red hot last Saturday is going to really challenge this Gamecock secondary. You're right about Jamarcus King. He still has an issue with getting his head turned around when covering a receiver. He's got his back to the football, and he loses the football, and he ends up trying to face guard the receiver. He gets called with a penalty there, or he got away, I think, one time with some pass interference.
And he's their biggest corner. The rest of them are 5'10", 5'11". He needs to be able to be better than that.
Well, Keyshawn Nixon has got to come on and show that he's capable of giving them some snaps. Caleb Chalmers, I don't know what has happened with him, but he needs to step up and give them some work as well. All right, 800-956-7266. Opening thoughts here on Sports Talk. All right, welcome back in Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Monday night edition from downtown Columbia here on Main Street.
You were right about one thing. You earn your money when you go to Clemson.
Just one thing?
Well,
right about just one thing?
This one particular thing. You earn your money when you go cover a game at Clemson when it comes to
oh, yeah.
the aspect of it.
Yeah, you better be in good shape to handle those hills.
And I took heed of your warnings about getting there early or going early, and I got there so early that I had to basically be there when the guy had the key to open up Memorial Stadium.
Good.
That's how early I was there.
So in other words, you beat the traffic.
I beat the traffic. I even beat the Esso Club traffic. Like, I was there when they opened the Esso Club.
What'd you think of the running down the hill?
I probably undersold it, but I wouldn't say that I oversold the rest of my argument that we had earlier about the best college football entrances. But it's kind of cool. It seems a little more manufactured than I would want it to be, but
manufactured.
It seems manufactured.
Manufactured?
It seems manufactured.
And how would you say it is manufactured?
Okay, the bus thing is kind of like, it is what it is. I don't know.
Well, how do you expect them to get from the locker room to the top of the hill?
But is again? I understand
the hill's on the other side of the stadium.
I understand the tradition of the.
You want them lockering over by the hill, so they just walk over from the locker room. You're going to see. Why don't you write a recommendation to Dan Radakovich next time we have him on the show? You can recommend that they move the locker rooms to the other. I got a better idea. Let's move the hill to the other side of the stadium, so they come right out of the locker room to the hill.
Phil, now you're being ridiculous.
Well, it's not manufactured. It's necessity.
It's ridiculous.
It's absolutely necessity.
It was nice. It's a nice atmosphere, and I also like that they filled the building 81,000 for a game like Kent State.
A lot of seats in Charlotte, only 50,000 for USC.
And that was something that was brought up in the conference call, and Will Muschamp said he wasn't mad about it. So
what's he going to do? He's got to coach his team. I mean, there were a lot of Gamecock fans filling the lower. I couldn't see upstairs. Lower level was full. NC State had their fans as well, but I know the upper deck behind one of the end zone was completely empty. But listen, expensive ticket, I guess. Labor Day weekend.
And we can get into that
television
because we had a lot of people on our poll. We had about a 50-50 split on the poll that we have on Sports Talk on Twitter at SportsTalkSC. Do you like these neutral site games? We've had a lot of impassioned responses to the negative, but the split is still about 50-50 on our poll.
Yeah. Well, they're going to play in more. Apparently, they're in talks to maybe play in Atlanta in the next couple of years. Listen, they had no trouble selling out Alabama and Florida State. In the
a lot of hype around that game.
Mercedes-Benz Stadium, yes. All right, 800-956-7266 here on Labor Day night. We know it's a holiday. We know you're relaxing by the pool or by the lake, or maybe you're out for a walk or whatever, but we do have some time and room for your calls. We'll have comments coming up for you from the USC and Clemson side of things, and a little bit on the race at Darlington last night, which was a lot of fun. But right now, we give you tonight's edition, our first of the season, of the good, the bad, and the ugly. The things that we saw over the weekend in person, on television, maybe something we read, maybe something we heard, what we think was good, bad, and ugly. Since I am better looking, I will go first. My good, being there in person, Deebo Samuel and Jake Bentley, lethal combination. Deebo gets the season off on the right foot, 97-yard touchdown before you're even in your seats, and had a touchdown catch of unbelievable one-handed grab in the end zone. Bentley directed the offense, was very efficient at quarterback, threw the ball well, 3 touchdown passes, also had a couple of nice runs, took his hits from the pressure, from the blitz, and handled that with maturity. So that is my good. Deebo Samuel, Jake Bentley, lethal combination for the Gamecocks.
My good is a whole unit. And that is the Clemson rushing attack. 43 carries, 353 yards, and 6 total touchdowns. 1 from the quarterback, Kelly Bryant, 2 from C.J. Fuller, 1 each from Travis Etienne, and also Tavian Feaster and Adam Choice. All 3 of the feature backs and the 1 freshman back each got a touch inside the end zone. It was quite a thing of beauty. It was the most rushing yards that they had since the game they had against Oklahoma a couple of years ago in the bowl game, where you really saw a unit that completely took over the line of scrimmage. You saw a lot of very good design runs as well. And I think, too, we saw an element in Kelly Bryant's game that is going to be something where he'll have to figure out when and how to pick his spots running the football, but that's a weapon, and you have to at least account for it if you're on the defensive side of the football.
Well, did he convince you that, and I know it was one outing against an inferior team, but did he convince you that he's going to be a championship-level quarterback at Clemson?
I think time still has to tell on that. Again, I like I said, I don't think he did anything beyond a moderate degree of difficulty or even towards a moderate degree of difficulty. The jury is still out for me, only because of the competition.
When the jury is out, where does it go?
It goes away.
It's just out.
Yeah, it's just out.
I was just wondering.
The jury is still out.
I hear that a lot. People say the jury is out. I just wonder where the jury goes. Do they go to the bathroom when they're out? Do they go to the lunchroom? When the jury is out,
we're still deliberating on whether or not the glove fits. See that?
All right, the bad. Here's my bad. My bad is this. So I'm at the race last night, and I'm not able to watch Texas A&M UCLA because I'm at the race, enjoying the race. But I hear about what's happening, and I check out Twitter just to kind of catch some of the highlights. And so I read from some of the national writers. The thing about Twitter is for national media guys who think highly of themselves. It's like a room, and each one thinks they're the smartest guy in the room. You know, I got to write something more clever than you just wrote. I got to have a take on something that's smarter and more insightful than what you just wrote. And they kind of go back and forth. So anyway, I see here in the first half, maybe first three quarters, boy, at Jim Mora, he really stinks as a coach. Boy, UCLA, look at all the problems. Here's why UCLA is so bad in football. It's their location. It's their fan. UCLA is I don't know if Jim Mora is going to make it through the first half of the season. Then came the fourth quarter. And then it became, Texas A&M. Here they go, boy. They really stink. Texas A&M, boy, you talk about the hot Kevin Sumlin, you might as well just fire him now. He just can't get it done. It's over and done with. And so my bad is Twitter national media guys who lick their finger, stick it up in the air, and see which way the wind's blowing when they offer up an opinion on something.
My bad is the Texas Longhorns. Debut game for Tom Herman.
Good for Tom Herman.
He goes and leaves that University of Houston program that gave him his first opportunity to be a head coach before the job is even done. He could have been a hero at Houston, but he had to go chasing the Texas job, and he gets hung 50 on him by Maryland.
Yes.
By Maryland.
Yes.
We're talking Big Ten Maryland.
Yes.
Not a good game for them. They gave up almost 500 yards of all-purpose offense. Shane Buechele did look okay, but Texas really found themselves behind the 8 ball the entire day, and they got behind way too much before they can come back. 51-41, Maryland wins. Texas is my bad.
And the ugly injuries, Florida State and Alabama. That's tough to watch. Tough to watch your top quarterback, if you're Florida State, to go down in the opening game with a season-ending knee patella injury like that. He wasn't playing well anyway, but you hate to see him get hurt. And then the Alabama injuries, especially Christian Miller, son of Corey Miller. Hate to see he worked so hard to get to this position. Sorry to see him go down along with a teammate.
Georgia's injury, too. Jacob Eason for Georgia on the first drive of the game against Appalachian State. It's a knee sprain, which won't keep him out the entire season, but it opens up the door for maybe a team on the periphery, maybe a South Carolina, maybe a Missouri, Kentucky, Vanderbilt, one of these teams that we talk about making the next step. They could be that contender secondarily alongside Florida.
Is that your ugly?
That's my ugly.
That's your ugly.
That's my ugly is Jacob Eason.
Okay.
Going down. What's wrong with that?
That's a good ugly.
It's a good ugly.
I mean, it fits in with my ugly, which was the injuries. I forgot. His wasn't season ending. I was thinking about the guys who've been lost for the season. I was thinking
about what it changes the season. It changes Florida State's season. Clemson now the favorite in the Atlantic.
And one more ugly. Florida's offense. Let's throw that in there as well.
They weren't good.
We'll be right back here on Sports Talk. Okay, we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Phil Kornblut, Will Pelagic. Glad you're with us. If you have just joined into the program, welcome. If you tuned over from somewhere else, welcome as well. 800-956-7266 is our phone number. Email talkback@sportstalksc.com. And on Twitter, make sure you're following us on Twitter if you are not. For those of you who do, we thank you. There's room for more. Our Twitter location is @SportsTalkSC. Let's go to Tony in 96, first caller of a new week here on Sports Talk. Hello, Tony. How are you?
I'm doing fine. How you doing?
We're good. We're good. Thank you.
That's great. You know, one thing that I was very impressed with this weekend, I haven't seen it in a long time, but one thing I want to say is I seen how composed our team was this week. About overtime, about calling timeouts and stuff. I thought that during the whole game that we was a very composed team.
Now, which your team? Yeah.
About?
You're talking about which team?
South Carolina.
Okay.
I thought that we was – one thing I seen Saturday against, was that we was just very composed. We seemed like we knew what we was doing and everything, and I was very pleased with them.
Well, yeah, I think that they look prepared, number one. Muschamp had said going into the game he thought they were ready to play. They look prepared. Of course, it does look good when you come right out of the gate with a 97-yard touchdown return on the kickoff, and that lifts everybody's spirits. But I thought that, I think offensively they had some good play calls for Bentley. I thought that they had good calls to get the ball to Samuel as much as possible. I think one person that they overlooked was Hayden Hurst. He only had one catch for negative yards. I think that they've got to make sure they get the ball to him.
But I would answer that on Hurst because of the fact that they kept him in a lot to account for the potential blitzes and also to help block for that offensive line and also help against that defensive line. I think that was more inside the game plan. And it also proved some of the things that we had been hearing from Eric Wolford and also from Pat Washington, the tight end coach, in that Hayden Hurst is a much better blocker now than he was at any point in his collegiate career. So that, in my mind, is a positive in itself.
Yeah. And there's no question about that. He's going to help in many, many ways. He's still a guy, though, that I'd like to see, if you're South Carolina, get his hands on the football.
Oh, yeah, and I think
good things happen when he gets his hands on the football. Their tight ends are a big part of their team, and their tight ends – and you're right, they were probably keeping – but State only blitzed a couple of times. The rest of the time they went with a four-man front, and USC's offensive line, in fact, Malik Young, talking after the game, felt like they did their job.
Right.
They kept those guys off of Bentley. The only 2 sacks NC State got came on blitzes when they had more people blitzing than USC had back to protect.
And Malik Young had to go up against Chubb, which was one of their better linemen. And I think from his perspective, he did probably as good a day as you could have expected. Yeah, there were some times where he got beat, where Jake might have gotten hit after he had thrown the football, or he had snuck ahead, or at least caused Bentley to step up in the pocket. But there wasn't any point in time where I thought this offensive line looked overmatched, where I think we expected probably a lot more of that.
Yes. All right, thank you for your phone call. 800-956-7266 is our phone number.
I do want to read a Twitter comment from our Twitter @SportsTalkSC, and this is in response to what I had talked about with you before about how I probably undersold the kind of game that the secondary had outside of Marcus King, or of Jamarcus King, rather. And Ray Wilkins on Twitter writes us @SportsTalkSC. To be honest, I think the folks who put Missouri -4.5, who put that line out there, which was the opening line, they're out there looking at Drew Lock, Missouri's quarterback, torching Jamarcus King all day. That's the only thing I can think of. On yesterday's teleconference, I asked this question of Will Muschamp, and he had a very interesting response. Coach, Will Pelagic, South Carolina Radio Network. With a team as adept at the pass as Missouri is, what were you able to see on film to try and address some of the defensive secondary breakdowns you saw yesterday?
The secondary breakdowns, well, I didn't see a lot. Maybe you know more than me. I saw a very efficient quarterback early in the game that was getting the ball out. We got beat on an inside fade where we were in very good position to make a play on the ball, and their player made a play. They hit a wheel route where we did have one bust where we did not cover the wheel route. We had a flat defender there. We got his eyes messed up and let the guy go on the sideline. And then a couple situations down the field, we got to play the ball. When one situation was a back shoulder ball, we got to play the ball out of phase and go through the elbow of the receiver. There was some 50-50 contact, questionable in my opinion, but if they call interference, it's interference. So, but I thought we faced a very efficient quarterback that threw it 66 times at the end of the day for 388 yards, which is 5.7 yards per attempt, which really our goal is 5.0. So when you throw it 66 times, you're going to have a lot of yards. We got to get off the field on third down. We got off the field twice on third down in the first half, and one of those they went for it on fourth down and converted it. So it really doesn't count. At the end of the day, we got to get off the field on third down. That's the biggest issue we had, especially in the first half. In the second half, you get off the field on third down, you don't have a lot of issues in the throwing game.
Am I grading with too fine-tooth a comb?
No, I don't think so. I mean, look, this was a secondary that came under a lot of scrutiny last year, and people want to see improvement. Now, this was a tough task right out of the gate in dealing with a veteran quarterback with good people and a good offensive line. And I thought South Carolina's defense held up pretty well. I mean, the guy threw the ball 64 times. That's a 6.5 average per attempt.
Right,
that's not horrible against a secondary. That's not abysmal. USC actually had a better average per completion, 12.6 to 9.2. When you throw it 64 times and you've got quality receivers, you're going to complete passes. I mean, that's just, and the way the Gamecocks were playing it quite a bit was kind of a soft coverage.
They kept everything in front of them.
Keep everything in front. Make them drive the field, and especially on the last drive, Muschamp said after the game that he told Travaris Robinson, make them use clock and make them run as many plays as possible. NC State had just one timeout in its pocket late, and so that's what they did. They played back and let them complete passes, but the tackling was good. They did not allow a lot of yards after the catch, and they didn't allow the big play down the field. So, but you're zeroing in on Jamarcus King, and there's no question that he had a few rough moments out there against bigger receivers. And it's like I talked about earlier. He still has a tendency not to want to turn his head and find the football and play the football, and instead try to play. Now, maybe that's what they teach him because of his size and going up against a bigger receiver. Maybe you're taught to play the receiver and try and knock the ball out of his hands.
Well, the rules are different in college versus the NFL. He wouldn't be able to get away with playing that way in the NFL because of the face guarding rules. But they're a little bit more liberal with the ruling and the way that you can play people in
I'm not even sure
coverage.
There is face guarding in college. Is there actually?
You don't get called for it. You don't get called for it.
Right. So,
but you do in the NFL.
Yes, absolutely. They call it. Well, listen, the NFL defensive backs are – you can't breathe on a guy in the NFL. They're going to throw a flag on you.
Because the rules are so skewed toward the offense.
Exactly. So, I think that we'll see what happens this week. Again, they're going to face another quarterback and another offense that likes to throw the ball a heck of a lot. And you're going to give up some yardage. What you got to do, of course, is prevent the quick strike. And you also have to have an offense that can retaliate in kind, and that's what USC's offense did on Saturday.
What did you think of TJ Brunson? I mean, 16 tackles.
Well, they went back and recalculated. It was actually 11 and a half.
Still a lot.
Yeah, he was very good. Now, the linebackers, look, from TJ Brunson to Sky Moore, Bryson Allen Williams was very good. You saw them play him at linebacker, kind of shift him to the outside and let him blitz quite a bit. And then Sherrod Green came in and played, and Thompson came in and played.
DJ Wanham set up permanent residence in the backfield with 3 tackles for loss.
Yeah,
too.
I'm telling you,
and a sack.
The Gamecocks had 11 tackles for loss. I'd have to go back and look.
It's a sixth of their total from last year.
I doubt there was a single game last year where they touched that against a quality opponent. So it was It's hard to say this when you give up 500 yards. I thought it was a step forward for the defense. Tell me if I'm wrong. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Sports Talk brought to you by South Carolina Electric Cooperative, sponsors of this year's annual Touchstone Energy Cooperatives Bowl. To find out more about what the co-ops are doing across the state, visit ecsc.org. Save the state for December 9th for the 2017 Touchstone Energy Cooperatives Bowl.
Without them, we wouldn't have any energy, Corn.
This is true. Now, a large part of the state would be dark.
Yes.
So we're glad they're here.
As would we.
We're glad they are here. 800-956-7266 is the phone number. Recruiting coming up for you in a little bit. We will have our next edition of Zach Willis, 1st and 10 at the bottom of the hour. David Shelton looking back on, the high school weekend is still going on. Latta and Dillon playing tonight. Dillon up 14-6. Hey, we had the early lead. I don't think we've led Dillon since 1968. Latta actually was leading 6-0. I think if I were there, I would have had a heart attack. And in my mind, my last breath, they would have been a winner, 6-0. But Dillon has come back with 14 straight points, even though Latta apparently had a touchdown called back. Yeah. Guess where they're playing this game? Dillon, of course. Of course it was called back. I'm not even able to see it, and I know that it was a bad call. Can't even see it, and I know it was a bad call. Let's go to.
You think the refs are from Dillon? Is that what you're
Stan the Tiger Man. Hello there, Stan. How are you?
Doing great. This is Phil.
You got Phil?
Yeah, Big Phil and Big Will beside you.
Will's here as well.
How are you, Stan?
I tell you what, a little different, K-Mac. I don't know. We might have to find us somebody else to send up that old Tiger country. No, I never had heard no comment like that. That's an awesome, unique place. And, man, some of the game day celebrations they've had down some of the big games, the way they come around with them buses, I just think is very unique and just awesome myself, of course. I guess that's the way you hear about it. Everybody's got opinions.
True that.
And anyway, back to the quarterback, I thought he done an awesome job, too. I know and realize. I tell it like it is. You know that, Phil.
Yes, sir.
I'm true blood Tiger fan. I know they didn't play a team that was that much, but the young man, he looked good with his arm and with his legs.
I'm not saying he didn't look good. I just the competition is going to ramp up significantly.
Oh, I said that. I know it wasn't that good a team, but I really feel like they got the team really to beat Auburn. I mean, what I'm saying, he was good on his short passes and the long when he threw the cane, and look how quick he was with his legs. I'm not saying he's a Deshaun Watson, but to me, for his first start, I feel like he looked good.
The one thing that I will say is that he looked competent. That's the word I would use. He looked competent, and he looked like he belonged there. And that's one thing that you probably weren't sure about.
Again, Clemson came out and scored lickety-split, something that they have made a habit of the last 2 years, and now this year. I mean, with Deshaun Watson at quarterback, they would score. They get the ball first. In a lot of those games, man, they're up 7-0 before you know what hit you, and this happened. But then again, let's see. Listen, if he plays that well against Auburn and Clemson is that good on offense against Auburn, then it's on. It is truly on. The whole dynamics of the Atlantic Division changed Saturday night when Francois went down.
Absolutely.
And that just not that you obviously nobody was wanting to see an injury like that. Clemson might have beaten Florida State with him at quarterback anyway. We're not going to know, but that certainly doesn't hurt Clemson or Louisville's or NC State's chances in that division because Florida State now is a wounded football team. Going to have to start a true freshman at quarterback moving forward.
Does Louisville now become the team you are, quote, most scared of outside of Clemson in the Atlantic?
You mean if you're Clemson?
Yes,
or
yes.
If you're Clemson, do you think Louisville's your biggest? You do have to go to Louisville.
Yeah.
You do have to go to NC State.
Right.
I'm not going to listen. Just because NC State lost to South Carolina, I'm not going to diminish their chances.
No.
For having a big year and possibly winning that division.
Those are the only two teams I would be moderately afraid of, though, if I'm Clemson.
Got to see what this quarterback looks like at Florida State moving forward. We go to our good buddy Rhett Graham, down at Coastal Carolina. Coastal getting his first ever FBS victory over UMass.
Congrats.
Saturday night. How about that, huh?
Corey, you there, man?
Yes, sir.
How are you? Happy Labor Day to you.
Yeah, you too. You too. Congratulations on the win.
Hey, thank you, man. Thank you. I'm actually driving by Darlington right now. I remember you talking about that earlier. But let me first off say a happy birthday to my wife today. She is come back from Charlotte for the day. But anyway, yeah, man, big news, big news. That was what I was going to joke with you about. My good, bad, and ugly was the good is, yeah, Coastal, we won our first ever FBS game and 38-28 over UMass. And then the bad was certainly those injuries affecting those teams. You hate to see them not be full strength the rest of the year, across all the conferences. But then the ugly is, Corny, I got to have some fun with you. It's taken 53 minutes into your show for you to mention the words Coastal Carolina, man. You know I like giving you a hard time about that.
Well, I did mention Carolina, so I got half of it out.
So I'll give you half credit, my friend. Half credit.
And I've been along the coast, so I've been coastal this weekend.
And they made both my sportscasts. So Sharmar Abercrombie being the Sun Belt Player of the Week offensively.
There you go.
179 yards, a pair of touchdowns. So
that was pretty strong. He was easy to see with those highlight yellow Under Armour streaking across the field.
It's good.
How'd y'all feel about your crowd announced at 13,000 plus?
It was good. It was good. You know, you have the worries that the rain. There was some serious rain, pretty much all day leading up to that game, and then of course combination of Labor Day holiday and everything. But no, we're excited. We're excited. We've the big question was how we're going to be with passing attack. You know, we feel like we have about 42 quarterbacks that can play right now.
Yeah,
I think we've got 6 or 7, and I think Tyler Keene, which is a familiar name, played most of the game, and I think he had about 80 yards passing. So, and then Dalton Demos, I think, scored twice, if I'm not mistaken, and then just ran twice, maybe threw once. But anyway, no, it's exciting. You know, like Coach Chadwell said, it'll be one of those things where now they got film. They'll figure out kind of how running heavy we were. But I'm excited to see what those guys can do. I mean, just me popping in, catching out a couple practices and whatnot, seeing some of those guys air it out. I mean, there's some strength there. So I'm excited to see when the coaches air it out. And of course, I'm no coach by any means, but I try to keep a basic pulse on it. I don't get to watch a whole lot of the game just while I'm taking care of corporate sponsors and whatnot on the field during the game. But it's exciting. I mean, it's a big, the community's jacked up. I mean, we've put, you know what kind of talent's there. I mean, we got a guy, D'Angelo Henderson. He's turning some heads in Denver. So, Oshmar has some shades of that as well. But now, all kidding aside, Mike Kaywood, our SID, he told me, and forgive me, I may have missed it. Weren't you coming to do a broadcast in Myrtle, or have you done that? Forgive me.
We're going to.
Yeah, we are coming down there, and I'll tell you, Rhett, the exact date here for Coastal is going to be October 4th. Yeah, the week you guys play Georgia State, we're going to be over at Ron John's. Expect you to be there and bringing all your people with you.
I will, man. I will. You know that. Now, are you you think you'll come down, might be able to play golf that day, or what's your schedule? You'd be wrapped up all day.
Oh, don't you worry. We'll be in touch.
I love it.
I have my ways to work it out.
I don't want to type y'all show all night, man. Just wanted to say congrats on my Chanticleers here, and I will look forward to seeing you in a few weeks.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Yeah, we'll be down at Coastal. We'll be at Ron John's Hamburgers, which is a terrific place.
Yes.
The bad boy, Alan Smothers, does his Saturday morning show from there. I was listening to him over the weekend.
I got to give me one of those Ron John Surf Shop hats like I see all the time with people.
Yeah, absolutely.
You teach me how to surf by the time I have the years out?
Teach you how to surf?
Yeah.
Who?
You.
Where are you going to surf?
I don't know.
The waves in the Atlantic around here are not conducive to surfing. No. Where do you like to surf?
I've never surfed. So
you're going to teach me and you've never surfed?
No, I'm saying you're going to teach me.
I don't know how to surf.
Maybe we can learn together.
I hardly know how to ski, but
water or snow.
Water ski.
I cannot get up on the water ski.
Yeah, I can't get up on anything on ice or snow. So, all right, top of the hour break. I don't know how I got off on that. Thank you for your phone call, and we will be back after the top of the hour break.
Number one, it's also shorter.
All right, let me know when you're ready. All right, here we go. Coming down in 3, 2, 1. This week's in 3, 2, 1. This weekend's game at Clemson with Auburn's going to attract a lot of major Clemson in 3, 2, 1. In 3, 2, 1. This weekend's showdown with Auburn and Death Valley is going to attract a lot of big-time recruits for Clemson, including wide receiver Justin Ross of Phoenix City, Alabama. He was at the No, trying to find my stuff here. I'm reading through my script, trying to find the important stuff. Here we go. In 3, 2, 1. Saturday's game with Auburn will attract a large number of major recruits for Clemson, including wide receiver Justin Ross of Phoenix City, Alabama. He has the Tigers in his final 5 with Alabama, Auburn, Florida State, and Florida. He was in Atlanta this past weekend to watch Alabama and Florida State. Also expected in to watch the Clemson-Auburn game is defensive end K.J. Henry of Clemens, North Carolina. USC offered 2019 quarterback Ryan Helinski of Orange, California. In basketball, 6'7" Jimmy Nichols of Conway plans to announce his decision tonight. He's down to USC, Miami, and Providence. He visited Providence over the weekend. Phil Kornblut, South Carolina, Radio Network Sports. All right, so I need to put in the sports talk. Hey, I'm going to I'm just looking to put into the sports talk folder, just in case we want to get to it. Where's your sports talk folder?
In the I.
Yeah. I'm on the iAudio. I mean, did you put a folder in for tonight's show or no?
Yes.
Under sports talk audio? Sports. Under show cuts?
Yeah. 9-4.
Guys, loaded up with Clemson. Well, we gotta offset that. If we're gonna load up with Clemson, we're gonna have to give you a few games. I'm gonna put Sky Moore in there.
Before we had our conversation.
And I'm going to put Denny Hamlin in there as well. Then let me trim Denny just a little bit. Yeah, I'm gonna do recruiting coming here out of the top of the hour break. And then Sky, yeah.
We haven't played any Clemson yet.
Oh, okay. You want to play Clemson? You want to do a Clemson first?
Yeah. And if we have Scott, we'll play.
Xfinity race, win the Cup race, win in the Flying 11. In front, do you feel like NASCAR is more inclined to the leader from a long way back? And it's back. We are a throwback weekend. This is
There's no target date for Isaiah Thomas's return from hip surgery.
Tony Stewart has surgery.
I heard it could be up to the All-Star break. How does a driver ever get comfortable in an Xfinity?
We are a throwback weekend. This is
really, we've been working on it all throughout all summer.
2 of Sports Talk up next with your hosts Phil Kornblut, Will Pelagic, and the Professor Tom Hayes. Don't leave us hanging. Join the show, 800-956-7266.
And we're back at Sports Talk South Carolina Radio Network. On Labor Day night 2017, laboring away, but it's a labor of love here on Sports Talk. You know what else made this a great weekend besides the fact that the Yankees took 3 out of 4 from the Red Sox?
We need to have a nobody cares drop whenever you drop a Yankees knowledge.
And the Yankees won today in Baltimore. But what's really nice is, are you an XM subscriber?
No.
Oh.
No.
All weekend long, they have been running the top 100 Beatles tunes of all time, as voted on by the fans, on the Beatles channel. They have a channel dedicated just to the Beatles.
I'm aware of it.
And, over and over again. So if you can't listen to the whole 100 through 1 in one sitting, it's just playing over and over continuously.
That's nice.
And all the stories that go in with the Beatles songs. Every Beatles song has a story,
Oh, of course.
It's not just a song.
You would say every song has a story, I would think.
No, there's a lot of music today that I think has no story and no song, to be quite honest with you. But every Beatles song has a story.
This is why they pair you with me, because I can bring you down to earth a little bit when we talk about music like that.
Is that why they paired us? I
know it was to bring up the good-looking factor of this show, which is great for radio.
I thought we hired you because of your recruiting prowess. Am I wrong about that?
I can tell you right now, I'm having about as much trouble as Will Muschamp had in his first year with recruiting.
Getting a handle on it.
Getting a handle on recruiting.
All right, let's give you the recruiting report for tonight. Then we're going to hear from Deion Kane of Clemson and also Sky Moore of USC. Saturday in Atlanta, the big showdown between Alabama and Florida State attracted major targets for both schools. Among those reportedly in the Florida State section was Clemson quarterback commitment Trevor Lawrence.
Interesting.
Now, before you go getting your panties all in a wad here, don't sweat it, Clemson fans. He lives in Cartersville, Georgia, not too far from Atlanta. Had some buddies going, I'm sure. Biggest game of the weekend right there in your backyard. You got an invite to go. Why wouldn't you go?
I almost thought about going down myself. I got an invite to go.
Yeah, why wouldn't you go? But you're not Trevor Lawrence, so nobody would care.
No.
Alabama and Florida State target receiver Justin Ross of Phoenix City, Alabama, also was there. Lawrence likely will be at Clemson this Saturday for the Auburn game, and Ross told us last night he will be there along with his mother and grandmother. Highly regarded receiver on the national level, has narrowed his list to Clemson, Alabama, Auburn, Florida State, and Florida. He will get the chance to see 2 of his favorites this coming weekend in Death Valley, just like he did this past weekend. So he likes Clemson a lot. He says he is still undecided and is stuck on his top 5, but he said Clemson has a good chance. And, of course, having a quality quarterback in the program is something that will be considered strongly by him. Also, Paul Strelo of Tiger Illustrated reported that defensive end K.J. Henry of Clemens, North Carolina, will be at Clemson. And per a source, USC coach Will Muschamp, tonight, unless something changed, they're playing tonight, K.J. Henry's team up in Clemens, North Carolina, and Muschamp was scheduled to be up there to scout him. USC offered 2019 quarterback Ryan Helinski of Orange, California on Sunday. 2019 defensive back Akil Pauling of Ben Lippen was at Clemson Saturday for the Kent State game. Tigers are showing interest. He talked with coaches Streeter and Reed. They've not yet offered him. Defensive lineman DeMar Donaldson of Palmetto Prep in Columbia will be taking in games at USC, Arizona, NC State, Purdue, Incarnate Word, and Coastal Carolina. We don't often get Incarnate Word mixed in with the schools that we cover in recruiting.
It's a lot.
Where is that located? Incarnate Word.
It's in Texas.
Texas.
Yeah.
He continues to talk with USC defensive line coach Lance Thompson from time to time about the things that he needs to work on. In basketball, 6'7" Jimmy Nichols took an official to Providence over the weekend, and now he's ready to announce. He's doing so tomorrow night on Channel 15 in Myrtle Beach at about 6 o'clock. As of Sunday night, he'd not made his decision. Providence, USC, and Miami are his 3. Saw several things that he liked at Providence, including the head coach and his assistants. And he said that the fact that he only took this one official really doesn't mean anything about the other two schools, Miami and USC. He's been to USC unofficially, did so just recently. Now, I don't believe USC has officially offered him yet. I forgot to ask him last night because he was going to take an official to USC this weekend and get his offer. So maybe maybe behind the scenes or something, they have told him that he now has the offer. I don't know about that, but at least going into this conversation, he did not have an official offer from USC. Clemson target 6'7" Amanzi Ngwemezi of Savannah committed to Georgia over the weekend while on his official visit. USC women's coach Dawn Staley offered 6'2" Rakia Jackson of Detroit.
Size.
She's ranked 11th nationally by ESPN. And in baseball, 2020 catcher Alex Boychuk of Buford, Georgia, committed to USC on Sunday. He's supposed to be pretty good. All right, there you go with recruiting. We remind you to keep an eye on recruiting on our website, SportsTalkSC.com. Another way to keep an eye on recruiting is on our Twitter feed at SportsTalkSC and use the hashtag STRecruiting. All right, Clemson opened up with the big win over Kent State. Nobody at all surprised by that. Nobody at all surprised by the size of the victory. A lot of Tigers got their hands on the football in the running game, in the receiving game. Deon Cain had a couple of catches, including one for a 61-yard score.
And it was interesting hearing him talk after the game about that catch and how long they had repped it.
Really, we've been working on it all summer, through all camp. So came out here and just had the best of it. So just try to keep it rolling like that from now on.
Deon, how good is it the whole offense playing the way it did to start the season on that note?
Man, it was great. It was really no drop off from the first group to the second group. Everybody I was in was playing comfortable with fast and everything. So at the end of the day, I was proud of everyone, and we just kept the momentum going throughout the whole game.
How important was it to set the tone quick? You guys came out scored on the second drive, and just looked like you hadn't missed a beat.
So everybody get that confidence, and once everybody get that confidence throughout the first play or second play, then we just rolling after that. With that offense, like once we get rolling, it's unstoppable, really.
A lot of people asked a lot of questions about your offense with all the guys who had left. How eager were you to show them that this offense hasn't missed a step?
Very eager, man. Our offense is we just very misunderstood, and we just want to come out and just prove a lot of people wrong, and we did. We're just gonna really keep it rolling from now on. We had a great day just to set it off, so now we just keep it going.
Touchdowns against man coverage. What goes through your mind once you see a quarterback lining up man
Defense coordinator, you need to try a different call because man coverage on me. I know that's kind of hard, but at the end of the day, that's what he called, so I just had to execute. So
that's Deon Cain, and he's right. Based off of last year and what we expect from this offense, they did not miss a step. But it was against the competition that they played it against, the team that basically was there to collect a paycheck of $800,000, which is a sizable paycheck for a school like Kent State, but they need the money. And from that perspective, you take it with a grain of salt. I'm very curious to see how much of the ease of this offense is running, how much of that we see this week going up against a very talented defense in Auburn.
Well, I don't think ease is going to be the descriptive term. This is going to be hard against Auburn. Hard. This is going to be hard. Auburn played Clemson close last year up at Auburn, and even though they've lost some players on defense, Clemson has lost some players on offense. This is going to be a very intriguing matchup. Auburn's coming off a solid win over Georgia Southern, which can give Georgia Southern is now FBS, but it can give bigger teams some problems with what it does, and Auburn handled that pretty well. So, and Clemson is where they open up at as a favorite, 6.5. 6.5. So, people still are riding Clemson's back right now while the Tigers continue to win football games.
How concerned are you about Jarrett Stidham and his ability to possibly take some advantage on the quarterbacking side?
Well, I think Clemson should be very concerned. I mean, when you're playing a quality quarterback with quality receivers and they're getting the suspended running back is coming back, who was one of the best running backs in the SEC last year. He's coming back. This is going to be tough. Now, if Clemson shuts down this Auburn offense and the Clemson offense goes out and puts 28, 35 points on the board, like I said earlier, they're off to the races. We shall see. We'll be right back. 45-28, but it was 45-21. All right, welcome back into Sports Talk, everybody. South Carolina Radio Network from downtown Columbia. Phil Kornblut, Will Pelagic with you here on this Monday night. And let's give you tonight's high school football reports here on Sports Talk as David Shelton joins us. And the report brought to you by Farm Bureau Insurance. With new auto insurance rates from Farm Bureau, you could be saving a whole lot of money. Even if you've received a quote before, rates are now more competitive than ever. Get a no-obligation quote today at favrates.com. Big game going on tonight. David, have you been checking the score?
I have been, yeah. Occasionally I'll follow it on Twitter.
Yeah. We're only down 14-12, and we got screwed by a touchdown being called back on a horrible call from what I saw from here, which I didn't see at all, but it's being played in Dillon, so I know it was a horrible call.
Well, you keep saying we, and last I checked, you're not in uniform there, brother.
Wow, someone calls him out on his crap. I love it.
My heart is there, my man. My heart is there. But, I mean, just to be 2 points down right now is a major, major improvement.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was teasing you last week. I mean, they I thought Latta would be competitive. They are better. Their program is coming around, to where they can compete in 2A. And, they had an extra couple days to watch film and prepare. And it's Labor Day, and, Dylan's probably ready to barbecue and eat some hot dogs. And that puts Latta right in the game. So,
Well, you know what? Here's what I'm going to do. They're playing in Dillon, okay? If Latta wins, I'm getting in my car. I'm driving to Latta, and I'm going to single-handedly tear down the goalpost.
That's you.
And carry it through the streets.
No, you won't.
I
promise you won't single-handedly tear down those goalposts.
Well, you've lost so much weight that you've come back from Cuba.
Yes.
You probably won't topple them anymore.
I'll just take a chainsaw out there with me, and we'll cut them down, and we'll carry them through downtown. Nobody will notice. How about Fort D on Friday night?
Yeah, Dutch Fork turned the ball over. Of course, I think Fort Dorchester had something to do with that, and it's not like either team just ran up and down the field. DeCarrion Joyner did have a good game running the football, but that's what we come to expect when they didn't even try to throw it. But I think 15, 16 times, I can't remember, but they haven't thrown the football at Fort Dorchester nearly as much as they did last year, but he is running. DeCarrion is running a lot, and they're completing their passes at a very high percentage. He's like 12 for 18 or 13 for 17, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And they really wanted this game, and they won it, and it could be a factor, in November if they meet again and they'd have to go to Fort Dorchester and play. But, it was a good measuring stick. I think both teams found out some things. I think Dutch Fork's going to have to figure out, can they get some consistent play at quarterback because they can run it, and they have Bryce Thompson who can make a lot of plays. So, they'll get back at it this week against Somerville. So I think it wasn't a huge upset. I mean, number 2 beat number 1, but I think that was really 1 and 1A.
Big win for Berkeley. They snapped the skid against Somerville, like you mentioned earlier, and a blocked field goal with 2:40 left. That one was exciting, the one you were at, David.
Yeah, it was. It was really Somerville wasted golden opportunity when they got when they blocked the punt and recovered it on the literally inside the 1 yard line, and then had back-to-back motion penalties, false starts. That backed them up. I mean, they were literally 2 foot from taking the lead, and they ended up having to try a field goal. And it was it was kind of a wet night, and a little bit of a bobble on the snap. And by the time they got it down, Berkeley blocked it and then ended up winning the game. But it was a good win for Berkeley. I think Berkeley saw some things they're going to need to work on, and I think Somerville definitely is going to have to fix a few issues. Now, granted, they were without a lot of guys on defense, but I thought their defense played well enough for them to win, but their offense didn't really get it going.
So in your mind, looking at 5A, in the poll when it comes out this week. In the David Shelton Mind poll, Fort D becomes number 1. Who do you put at 2? Do you move Burns up to 2? Does Conway jump up to 2? Maybe T.L. Hanna moves up to 2.
No, I turned my ballot in yesterday, and I have Burns number 2. I have Hanna 3 and Conway 4. So I think what Hanna has done, again, they may not finish this way, but they've beaten 3 pretty good teams to open the season. So you got to give them some credit. Burns has really played well defensively, and that team they beat, Don Bosco, the other night. I looked at the stats. Don Bosco had a ton of yards, and Burns did not. And Burns found a way to win, which is a good sign. So I have Fort, and then I didn't move Dutch Fort down very far. I think they have them 5th. Mm-hmm. And then you have teams like Greenwood and Gaffney and teams like that. Spring Valley is another top 10 team that really hasn't been tested yet, but I think they'll get tested this week. I believe they play Sumter.
David,
Yes.
all I know is we got to find me a new adopted team, because since I adopted Bishop England, they've lost 2 in a row, and I have way too many losing teams in my life. So we got to find a new adopted team for me.
Yeah, I've got a message from them, and they said, please stop. But no, the Bishops. I tell you, St. John's is good though. St. John's is a legitimately, I think, a Class A contender. And I told somebody when I saw them at Sertoma, they got 4 or 5 guys that are 4A, 5A looking guys. I mean, they got some players. But Bishop England turned the ball over several times. They had a good game rushing the football, but threw some picks. And but St. John's is a legitimate team who I think. Yeah, they could finish they could go if they can get by Oceanside in a couple of weeks, who's got a really good passing game that could give them a little bit of a problem. But they're so physical up front. I think they just pound on people. I think they could finish undefeated in the regular season.
All right, they're approaching halftime. Dillon leads 21-12. They just scored again. So what do you see?
All you needed was for you to jinx it. And
I know. As soon as I started feeling happy, I knew something bad was going to happen. So what do you like as the game of the week? Burns Northwestern, Conway Hartsville. That's probably the best game, wouldn't you say? Conway Hartsville.
Yeah, I think the Burns Northwestern game will be a good game. I think that the Hartsville Conway game is going to be real interesting to see how Hartsville handles that Conway offense. Hartsville's kind of young on defense, got a lot of underclassmen, but. It'll be another good Friday night. Somerville's going to go to Dutch Fork, see how Dutch Fork bounces back. And I think Spring Valley Sumter is also going to be a game that a lot of people keep an eye on.
Yep. David, thank you, my man. Have a great week. We'll talk to you Friday night.
Okay, guys.
Thank you. Can you believe this Friday night, even though it's called week 3, God, it's going to be the 4th Friday night of games?
It's crazy.
Already.
It's crazy.
Well, it goes quickly. In South Carolina, we really have you have games in August, but September, October is regular season, and then playoffs start November. And you go into if you don't have any weather delays like we've had recently, you go into the first weekend of December and have the state championship games.
You mentioned weather; it just made me triggered my mind into thinking that we unfortunately have another tropical system off to our south and east. Hurricane Irma. Possibly
keeping an eye on that. Hopefully, is going to move out away from everybody. But last thing I heard today coming up from the coast was it was going to scoot across Cuba and head back over towards the Gulf.
Yeah,
so
it's either going to do that or there's a jet stream that's going to push it all the way out to sea. Might skirt might skirt the extreme coast, but maybe not too much, at least on the inland part.
That would be ideal. All right. Don't forget, there's another game tonight, Tennessee, Georgia Tech. That's one of our Sports Talk Challenge Pick'em games. Right now, I'm off to a great start this year. The only game I've missed so far this week was
Bama.
I have just got to learn not to pick against Alabama.
See, I should have taken my own advice, because I said the exact same thing, and I was in the pool with you, man. How did you let me How did you drag me into that?
I have no idea. I let you do your own thinking. I've got Tennessee tonight. Maybe that's the wrong decision, but I don't know. New quarterback at Georgia Tech, how sharp are they going to be? New quarterback at Tennessee, how sharp are they going to be? We're going to find out, and we'll be back. We have got Zach Willis coming up.
He's going to call him after.
All right, coming up, we've got this week's edition of First and 10 with Zach Willis. Coach will be joining us here in just a moment. Sky Moore, welcome back to the USC football team. The outstanding linebacker for the Gamecocks was a settling influence on that defense, and he's only going to get better as the season progresses. He had unofficially 8 tackles, including a half a tackle for loss in the win over NC State. Afterwards, he talked about being back in game action once again.
Last year, watching my team and all that, but being able to come out here with these guys and get this W, it means everything.
Were you kind of banged up at the last player where you just gassed?
Oh, no, I mean, I jumped up for the ball, and then I landed on on his cleat. So I didn't want to, get up. So, Coach told us to stay down, so we stayed down.
Scott, what was going through your mind pregame as you were starting to take in the field and be out there, toss one on price? What were you thinking?
Oh, it's football, we about to play a game. Nothing too crazy. About to play some football.
Now that you got back out there, what do you want to improve on as the season goes on?
Just my play overall, leadership, getting everyone's mind right on the field and stuff, and just keeping it going, building off today.
How does it feel to know that the defense had to come up with a stop in the final seconds to secure this win?
Yeah, that's what we love. That's what we play for. We play for those moments, live for those moments. That's what football is all about. Our backs against the wall, and we gotta make a play and get out of that wall. So, and we really bowed up today and matured and made a big play.
What was different from you guys in the third quarter of the defense?
I think everyone just calmed down. You know what I mean? Like the first game, jitters. Everyone's a little anxious, and after that we calmed down. We saw what they was really doing, and we played our ball, played our football.
Did you think you're going to get one of your picks in the end zone on that last drive as they were trying to lob one in there?
Oh yeah, I'm always thinking that. I'm always looking for the ball, waiting for them to throw it my way, and so I was definitely waiting on that.
You mentioned how important it was to get the return on investment for you guys to get a win today and have all the validation come back. You've had a longer journey than most of the teammates to get back on the field. What does this feel like to you to leave here with the W after everything?
Oh, it's amazing, man. I mean, we got a young team, a lot of young guys who are inexperienced. A lot of young guys first time in a game like this. So, to come out here and, be a senior on this team and bring those young guys up and bring them along and, get the win with the other seniors I've been here with for so long. It's a great feeling.
What did the opening kickoff going back for a touchdown just kind of do for you guys on the sideline, even though you knew you still had 59 minutes plus to play?
Oh, no, yeah. I mean, we expected that. We've talked about that all week. And, even on the sideline, guys were saying he's going to juice this one. And, it happened. So we really expected that to happen.
Bring back memories of the last time you played in this stadium, same end zone. You make the interception to seal the win over North Carolina. Now, can you flash back with those thoughts in that game?
I mean, pregame, running out here and you back on the field where you last played. Those memories come back. When the game's going, it's not locked in. So I'm just trying to make a new play.
All right, Sky Moore. The Gamecocks glad to have him back at the linebacker position, and he is going to be a big settling influence and helping make sure those guys the young guys are in the right position. But he just knows how to play the linebacker spot. He knows where to be, especially in those situations in the red zone, back in the end zone when you're trying to come up with a big play defensively. And let's welcome in Zach Willis for tonight's edition of First and 10 as he's first up, and he's got a little less than 10 minutes to talk with us tonight here on Sports Talk, but get his first take of the week on what he saw over the weekend. I was just talking about Sky Moore and his influence on that Gamecock defense. Now, I know the Gamecocks gave up a lot of yards, but they came up big when they had to.
I think that's exactly right, Phil. As a coach looking at that ball game and a fan, at the end of the day, you come out with a win, and it's first game. And I thought they were a whole lot better than people thought they were going to be on defense, and they made some big plays.
I'm asking you about at least a particular weak link of that defense, Zach, and that's Jamarcus King. I think every time we saw him on the TV, it wasn't a good thing. Do you think that that's something that's a big concern for this South Carolina defense?
Well, being that Will is a defensive coach, I think probably the whole performance, if you ask him honestly, he's concerned. Still, because they faded, they operated a lot off of emotion. Their offense ignited them. I mean, Debo Samuel oh, wow. I mean, what a talent as a receiver and a special teams guy. But they rode that wave in the third quarter for a while off of Bentley to Samuel touchdown pass, and then they kind of faded. And King was a big part of that, and other teams are going to see that for sure. It's definitely a concern.
What did you think of the Gamecocks' offense? Again, 250 yards. They were doubled up by NC State's offense. But then again, they also had some short fields to work with. They had a kickoff return for a touchdown, so that took some time away from the offense. What did you think of Bentley, his connection with Samuel, and where they're going to move forward from that game offensively?
I think, again, I'm a fan of Bentley. I'm a huge fan of Samuel's talent. The catch the one-handed catch he made may not have been fundamentally sound, but it spoke volumes about his ability as a football player. And his kickoff return kind of set the tone for the game for those guys, and I think made them believe they could win it. I was impressed. They faded it. I think the thing for them's got to be, and Nick Saban talked about this all year with his team, but they've got to finish better. If they finish that game like they started it, and they started both halves very well, they just got to finish. And part of that is their youth and experience, and hopefully they'll mature as they go along.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, defensively, they played a great third quarter, and it gave them a chance to open up a lead. What did you see in the third quarter that they did well defensively? I think they held State to about 45 yards in that quarter.
I think there were some well-timed blitzes. NC State obviously had trouble with blitzes. They were crossing linebackers, which means one backer goes first and picks a line, the other one loops around through a free hole. NC State didn't have an answer. They sort of went away from that. But the biggest thing, Phil, is they're thriving on emotion, which a lot of defenses do, until they quit using that emotional crutch. And it's part of being a young team and building a program. When they get past that point, and that may take a while, they're going to be probably average to above average in most games and have ups and downs with the emotion of the ball game. And that's honestly, that's pretty normal for a group like this at this point in their development.
1st and 10 with Zach Willis. We look at Clemson now, Zach. What can you take from this victory, factoring in the fact, of course, that the opponent was who it was?
Not a whole lot. Honestly, I think Dabo went back and said, okay, boys, we'll find out how good we are this week coming up. They're going to find out when Auburn rolls into town and Kelly Bryant's the real deal. I think that they have a bevy of receivers. Jeff's got pick of the litter down there. They threw I think they threw a couple to the water boy at the end of the game. Coach Caldwell's offensive line, dominant, the defensive line dominant. It's, returning all those offensive linemen now, I thought they're going to be impressive. I hope they'll lead that football team for them, just like we hope Bentley leads South Carolina's team. But we'll find out a whole lot this week about Kelly Bryant when he gets against a team that can really put some pressure on him.
What did you think just of his technique in throwing the football? That's been the big question mark. Could you see improvement from what you have seen on video in preparing for the season? Did you see a better passer from a technique standpoint?
His elbow drops. He likes to push the ball out, and I've heard that before. I could see that the balls, deep outs are going to float on him a little bit. Now I'm picking him apart here.
Sure.
Overall, as an athlete, incredible. I mean, he had a couple of runs where I was like, whoa, this cat can really run. And he looked like a different player on game day than he did in the spring game, I thought. But honestly, he's probably playing against a worse defense than he played against in the spring game, too, from a talent standpoint. No offense to my good buddy Don Treadwell, but he would probably tell you the same thing. Very, very talented football team, but I still think, and they ought to be happy with the win, they did what they should have done, and that's destroy Kent State. Now we get to find out how good they are.
Zach, as always, we appreciate it. Have yourselves a great week. Have yourself a great week. There's only one of you. And we will talk to you next Monday night.
Okay, guys. Thanks.
Thank you so much. 1st and 10 with Zach Willis.
15 different receivers caught balls for Clemson. So, yeah,
and
everybody
if you'd
in the
gone
water
out there,
boy.
you'd have been 16. Back in a moment.
I don't know about that.
to win in the Flying 11 and to win the Xfinity race, win the Cup race, both in very exciting fashion, was a great feeling. To win in the Flying 11 and to win the Xfinity race, win the Cup race, both in very exciting. To win in the Flying 11 and to win the Xfinity race.
All right, coming up, Mick Mixon, the voice of the Panthers, will join us. We look ahead to the start of the NFL season. Before that, though, great time last night at Darlington. It's just an event. It is just a great event. The weather was perfect. The flyover was right on time.
You didn't bring back any Bojangles, which I'm kind of mad about.
It was all eaten, I'm afraid. There was a hungry group of media people there working late into the night.
Media
and a terrific
media like to eat. What a shock.
It was a terrific race with Denny Hamlin coming from way behind in the final half hour of the race to get a break when Martin Truex Jr. blew a tire, hit the wall. Hamlin was there, took the lead, and sped away to his second Bojangles Southern 500 victory, the 31st win of his career. Here's a little bit of what he had to say afterwards.
To win in the Flying 11 and to win the Xfinity race, win the Cup race, both in very exciting fashion, was a great feeling. And then to fight through the adversity of missing the pit road and coming back, and we had great strategy, fast car, and it just worked out in the end. I was hoping it would. Otherwise, I would have looked pretty silly after the race trying to explain why we lost. But it just I think a lot of that came from Truex beating us on a green flag sequence earlier in the day, and so I pushed it a little bit more on pit entry, and I didn't want it to happen again, and I just pushed it a little bit too much. Kind of a rookie move, but also just trying to optimize everything, and it was just we got our car better as soon as it turned into night. We kept getting the car better, kept making adjustments, and kept working on it. And we had something we could win with, and it's proud to win them in that fashion, especially as a total team effort. Pit crew did a great job all night getting us out in front 2 or 3 times. We had a great strategy. The car was great, and driver did okay at the end too.
Do you feel like NASCAR is more inclined to let races play out naturally?
Yeah, as they should. And I mean, look what happened. I mean, you had a car run down the leader from a long way back and pass them essentially with coming to 2 to go. So yeah, I mean, I think that it puts the strategy back in the crew chiefs, the driver's hands. It's back. We are a throwback weekend. This is a throwback to saving tires and a long, grueling race, and I like it ending on a sequence like that.
Corn, I would just like to point out that my guy, Kyle Busch, went to finish second.
He did. We're really third because, if Truex doesn't have his problem, he's going to finish third, and Hamlin's going to finish second. My man, Matt Kenseth made a nice run. I think he finished in the top 10.
Seventh.
Yeah. So just want to say kudos to everybody at Darlington, and what a great job the police did, and the fans were great. The place wasn't completely sold out. There were some seats open on the backstretch, but I think if you took everybody that was in the infield and put them in the backstretch seats, that would have been packed, and you still would have had plenty of people in the infield. But the track looked great, and it was a race that did not get bogged down with a lot of caution laps. I think they had 8 caution periods, but they quickly got the race restarted and kept everything moving. So really enjoyed it. We'll talk more with KT about that tomorrow night. Right now, it's time to get a visit from the voice of the Panthers. Have we got mixed theme? If we got mixed theme, there we go. Mick Mixon wrote this little ditty. Yeah, he and his band. This Mick Mixon and the Mick Mixon Band performing this little song that the NFL astounded with and now uses as their own. As we welcome Mick, I was telling everybody earlier that on XM Sirius on the Beatles channel, they're playing the top 100 songs by the Beatles all holiday weekend long. I was looking for the for your channel, for your band's channel on XM, but I couldn't find it.
No, we got a raw deal. The Break Wind and Fire Band, Franklin Street Band, and Mick and the Ultras. I don't think we're on there. I don't think the numbers go up high enough.
Wait a minute now. Which one is the active band, the Break Wind and Fire or the Mick and the Ultras?
Break Wind and Fire was my first band I started. That band sort of evaporated a little bit when our bass player moved to Florida.
Jerk.
And then the Franklin Street Band, that's the one my wife is the lead singer in.
And she's great. She is great. Fantastic lead singer.
Yeah, she can sing Janice, Aretha, Patsy, Pat Benatar, who's the one, the newer one, Lady Gaga. I mean, man, Donnie's got some soul going on.
Well, if in the spirit of Pat Benatar, hit me with your best shot as far as your forecast for this Panthers season after seeing a full preseason under their belt.
It's unlike me, but I feel like I've been beating the drum. I'm just excited about what this team is going to be good. Who could not see it? Sports Illustrated has us third in the NFC South. They don't think Cam Newton can make these easier check down throws, that he's not that kind of QB. That's asinine. Panthers are very good in the defensive front, very good in the offensive line this year. Christian McCaffrey is going to be a minted, stamped, dyed, one-off, unique, original. I think we're headed for a deep playoff run in a special 2017.
So we didn't see much of Cam Newton in the preseason. They were obviously, protecting him and making sure he's ready to go. So is he ready to go?
I think so, Corn. I think the smile tells everything. Cam's easy to read. I mean, he's layered and nuanced like a lot of young adults, but if he weren't feeling it, if he didn't feel like he was sitting on a good football team, and if the shoulder was hurting him, he wouldn't have that light up the room smile, that bouncing on the balls of his feet joy to get this season started that we see in the building every day.
What did you think of the signing of Brad Kaya?
Liked it. I'm curious as to your opinion. Talked with him a little bit today. He's a good-looking young man on the hoof, 6'4", 215. What was his career like at Miami in your view, Corn?
Very good passer, especially last year with Mark Richt taking over, really kind of stabilized him. Big arm guy. Like you said, a big body guy. The times that I got a chance to see him now, I saw him in person a couple of years ago, and Clemson beat him. I think it was 58-0. I mean, just flat, took him right out of it. But last year was a bounce back year for him, I thought, and I thought he had a good year.
He drafted player, and I think the Lions were trying to sneak him onto their practice squad when the Panthers intervened.
Mm-hmm.
Your thoughts on the kicking battle and why we don't have a winner yet?
There's that old saying in golf, why does a golfer have 2 putters in his bag? It's because he doesn't have one.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the case with these 2 kickers. They're both so good, and one young, one old, one a little cheaper, one more veteran. I mean, it wouldn't be the worst possible thing if a trade answered this question, or if the Panthers started the year with 2 kickers and then let the in-season battle sort itself out.
Natural selection, if you will.
Well, Darwinian evolution. I mean, it's not the worst idea anybody ever heard.
Are you ready to go for another year? Can you believe the regular season is here?
I can't wait, Corn. I mean, this is it's special. Opening day in baseball. I guarantee you're not a car guy, but I guarantee you remember your first car, your first day with Marissa, birth of your first child, and opening day in the NFL feels kind of like a landmark event.
No doubt. Out to San Fran. We'll be listening. Hope it goes well. We'll talk to you next Monday.
Appreciate it, pal.
Thank you, my friend.
The great thing about this radio show is we can have, in the same segment, Denny Hamlin, Pat Benatar, and Charles Darwin all somehow seamlessly intersecting.
When you're interviewing Mick, there's no telling what's going to come up in the conversation.
The rails are absent.
He just has such a
Today,
depth of knowledge and the ability to just pull things in.
Today flew by, partner.
Very quick show. Enjoyed it. I'll be heading up to Clemson tomorrow.
Say hi to the SO Club for me. I might have left some money up there.
You think so?
A little
You've
bit.
got the Gamecocks tomorrow. It's a Talking Tuesday, and so we'll look forward to bringing you the latest from Dabo Sweeney and the latest from Will Muschamp as we get ready now. You know what? The grind is on week after week after week, and we'll see who can bring it every week.
And it's Missouri week, too, for yours truly, so I'm very curious
I know
to see
you're
how
pumped
the
about
Gamecocks-
that. Yeah. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you, Jar March, and we will see you tomorrow night here on Sports Talk.